Hello, and here's my presentation on improving UK long-run growth. So what do we want to focus on? So the growth rate of the economy is determined on various factors such as accumulation of capital and labour. These are easier to measure. However, one factor that is much harder to measure is technological change or productivity growth, which is a key factor in explaining long-run growth, which Roma, Ramsey-Koopman model, and also Solow growth model with exogenous technological change. So one way to measure tech change is through the Solow residual, um, otherwise called multi-factor productivity by the ONS. And what we want to do is really utilise this within our policy proposals. This is a key factor within all three models that I've just mentioned. So what this graph is showing is output growth and what the breakdown of what contributes to that, so capital, labour and the multi-factor productivity. So as you can see that in the late 90s to early 2000s, that multi-factor productivity accounted to about a third or just over a third of output, which is key in the long run growth. So monetary fiscal. So currently the base rate stands at 0.1%. This is due to low consumer demand because of the uncertainty, also low investment because of the uncertainty of Brexit, and also the external shock of coronavirus. So the main aim is to boost current consumption and investment. And according to Ramsey, with interest rates being the showcase of long run growth, what we can see is that this is currently looking at current economic growth, so current consumption. Therefore, at the current stage, that monetary policy is sort of inaccessible to help boost long-run growth at the moment. So we need to focus on policies through productive government expenditure, which can help individuals improve consumption, also help business improve their R&D, which improves technological growth. And this can also provide increasing returns of scale if the policy is implemented correctly. Okay, so what policies are we proposing? So the problems the UK currently facing is that in the CBI report, 40% of employers reported a shortage of STEM graduates, which is a key barrier to hiring the appropriate staff. Roma model for incorporating R&D would predict that this would result in a shortage of new innovations, as there's less labour, less relevantly skilled labour to produce new innovations, and these create new knowledge spillovers, which will then help create further innovations. So without the lack of relevant skilled workers, we see less innovation creating, therefore less technological change, therefore less potential long-run growth. Ramsey and Solow would also predict that this reduces potential growth of effective workers, as there's less of them, and therefore less output from the labour force, and therefore this limits long-run output. So how do we counteract this? So we provide subsidies for students who enrol onto STEM university subjects. We provide salary limits, so minimum salary, so 30k or above, 25k or above, to help incentivise individuals to join a STEM profession and make those early career decisions. We'll also increase funding to primary and secondary school and to college for STEM subjects. So provide nudges to young talents within the schools to so this is a good career path to go down, and will also help provide R&D incentives through subsidising private firms. Why we're providing subsidies to private firms is because if we look at the OECD countries, we're the seventh out of the 8 OECD countries that has low R&D as a percentage of GDP. At the moment, we're below our 3% target. As you can see, business investment in R&D is only at 0.91, whereas we want to be a lot higher than that. And also, more R&D means more technological change and more long-term growth. Our policies and their implications to the economy. So our policy proposal is to help improve technological change as well as productivity in the long run, which is predicted by Roma, Ramsey, Koopman model, and Solow with technological change. As we know, these technological change is really the key driver of long run growth. Also, the rise of more R&D, more STEM graduates will hopefully increase the number of effective workers, therefore increase productivity. And as we know, productivity rates will result in higher profits for firms, which then should trickle down into growing wages. According to Eastland Rebello, investment in education was positively correlated with growth, and also a study carried out by Rita Ray in 2015 found the share of STEM graduates has a significant positive effect on the levels of real GDP per capita within America. So we've got proof that increasing the amount of STEM graduates, workers, does have a positive effect upon the economy, and hopefully will help improve the long run growth. The subsidy in R&D, another reason why we've promoted this policy is because R&D has a greater social impact than it does private. So what we want to do is try and incentivize R&D and therefore meet the socially optimum level of R&D, as everyone benefits from not the knowledge spillovers that R&D brings with it. And also R&D can improve the quality of life, so improve the healthcare and new innovations in drugs. Therefore, you get a healthier future workforce, which will help increase productivity, and also you get new innovations such as laptops, iPads, smartwatches, which all help increase the productivity of a worker. And also, we are proof that subsidies in R&D do work, as Davidson in 1998 found that high general levels of R&D subsidies increase both innovations and imitation rates in each industry. The risks of potential policies. So the monetary incentives we're proposing could distort individual and business choices. So individuals go to a STEM subject just for the fact that they get a subsidy. That could be one risk, as these individuals just go onto the course, don't have any love for the subject, and they graduate and they're not at a high enough quality that the private firms want. Another implication is that businesses may exploit the subsidy and increase the price of new innovations, as they get supernormal profits plus the subsidy, which creates these enormous profit flows for them. So we need to make sure there's further regulation on markets that are demand inelastic, or else they could exploit consumers further through increasing the price, and therefore making these new innovations inaccessible for a large amount of consumers, large amount of consumers. So that will reduce also inequality for the economy and a happier society. Here are my references, and thank you for listening.